Hello, boys and girls. It's May, it's raining, it's pouring, it's been thundering and lightning for several days in a row. What better way to pass the time than with some delicious sweet tea and a whole big stack of things to open? Now, I did shoot something yesterday, but it was just one thing and it wasn't really worth doing a separate video on, so I'm just showing you now. It's Clash of the Titans here. Just the standard edition. And the reason I got this standard edition is because the same eBay seller that I told you about before did the custom covers. I ordered one for Clash of the Titans, and I believe it's the original theatrical poster, which I much prefer over some other cover that somebody came up with later that doesn't look as good. That kind of bugs me. I don't know if it bugs you, but I mean, not that this is bad, but it's just like I'd rather have the real thing that people actually saw when they went to the theater back in the day. It's just more official that way. Um, I don't know if anybody else is like that, but it's a pet peeve of mine when a movie poster is really, really good and they just don't really care to, like, they make up some new cover for the DVD or Blu-ray that looks so much worse than the theatrical poster. That really bugs me. Now, again, with Scream Factory, they have the new illustrated ones that they do, which are fantastic, often better than the posters, but then they still do include the original theatrical posters in there as well. So you get them both. This one's from Westfield, Massachusetts, and it's the sequel to Iron Blood, Battle for Blood, which this is something I had at one point. I never watched it. I never watched the first one, but the first one I did order did not have this one with the slipcover though. But I think that it's always pretty interesting whenever you find movies that are period pieces that are not necessarily like big studio films. They're indie releases or they're from another country. I think that those tend to be kind of neat just to see what people do with them. We're also used to the Bravehearts and the Gladiators and these, big, huge Best Picture winning movies with big stars and huge budgets and everything, that it's kind of nice to see, these periods be revisited, but, with other people doing them. So I think that there's a value in that. And I do look forward to checking this one and the other one out. Now, the other one did have Paul Giamatti and Kate Mara in it, so I'm looking forward to that one when it comes in. But yeah, there it is, and that's Accelerator Media, and they were the ones that put out one of my favorite horror films of the 2010s, American Mary. So, again, don't discount the indies just because you may not recognize the people in them. Oftentimes they can have really great stuff to offer. Next one's from Richmond, Virginia. So let's see. Alright, and this one, this is another kind of cool indie one that I've wanted to check out for a while. It was Rendell Dark Vengeance, which this is a Finnish superhero film. And I believe that, it's an original character, but it is, from Finland, and it's like, hey, that's cool. And I think that he looks pretty darn cool, and I got it with the slipcover, and it is a Shout Factory release, so, it's pretty cool. And, let's see what we got. Yeah, looks pretty cool to me. I mean, there was this great article that I remembered seeing, and it was about superhero films that you may not have heard of, and especially, like, from other countries. And there was that one Russian one, Guardians, that came out that apparently got bad reviews. I didn't see it, and I do want to see it, but it got a Shout Factory release too, much like this one. So again, it's neat to see what happens when, independent people, when they put together something different. One thing you'll notice with a lot of indie releases is that you'll see a lot of production companies listed on the bottom. And oftentimes they'll do that as a way to kind of spread out the cost, or especially like European productions, they tend to do that, just you know, especially if it's like, I know Lars von Trier, like his financing tends to come from a lot of different countries, and I think that just helps mitigate any possible losses for any one company, especially like in this case, if it's something that's based on an original IP, it doesn't have a proven track record, so it just helps spread the cost around, and therefore any potential losses are not going to be anywhere near as great as if it was, say, like Warner Brothers, where they would be footing all the bill, more or less, except even they do a lot of work with other production companies to spread the cost around. But, you know, it's a good way to just shore up one's investment. So this one's from Suffolk, Virginia. Suffolk, I suppose. What do we got? Okay, yeah. This was one that I remembered that I started to watch and I really dug it. I just never finished it. And then, of course, again, in the Great Purge, I ended up selling it and I hated that I did it. But it was The Darklands, and this was a New Zealand film with, it's about the Maori people that were native to New Zealand. And, it's with the proper language and everything. It kind of reminded me of Apocalypto, which is one of my favorite movies of all time. And probably arguably Mel Gibson's best work as a director. Now this one here, it does not come with the slipcover, but I ordered it separately, so we'll just pop it on there when it comes. But this, I believe New Zealand tried to get this as their entry for best foreign language film, and I guess it didn't make the cut. But, you know, again, I'm a big fan of period films, big fan of things that are, not Eurocentric or not from the United States. I think that's just a good way to, broaden one's horizons. Which actually, funny I say that because I'm wearing the Japanese poster for Army of Darkness. I'm wearing that shirt today, and the Japanese title of Army of Darkness was actually Captain Supermarket, which I would love to see a movie, not Army of Darkness, some other movie. I'd love to see some other movie called Captain Supermarket. That would be awesome. Now, this one is a Royal Mail, so it's, from England. And I believe that I know what these ones are. These are ones that I've waited patiently for a while. Yep. Now, anybody familiar, like anybody that goes on the Scream Factory website, or Shout Factory, if you go on their store, they'll tell you, like, what releases are going out of print this year. And these films that I'm trying to open out of the bubble wrap, these ones are going to be going out of print this year. I had them without the slipcovers, but then I found these online with the slipcovers, and, they were not cheap, but these are some of my favorite horror films of the 2000s, some that are I think they're rather underrated. Not a lot of people talk about them like they should, even though they did well at the box office for their time. And this thing is, like, really, really in here. Like, we got a lot of layers of bubble wrap. We've got whatever this bubble tissue stuff is, which, I mean, for the seller, I'm sure that that's a really good assurance that it's not gonna get damaged in transit, especially if it's going overseas. But even so, it's like, wow, this is quite a chore to get this out of here. I'll just get them both out of here so you can see them at the same time. But yeah, like, as I'm doing that, what are some of your horror films that you really like, that you feel are underrated or not talked about as much as they should be? I mean, I've got quite a lot of them. It's always funny what gets on people's radars and what doesn't. And in my opinion, a lot of this stuff that doesn't really deserve it, and vice versa. But, not always. Sometimes the consensus is right. Alright, so, yeah, I got them both out of here because, might as well show them together. Yep, there we go. Alright, finally. Sorry. But it's Jeepers Creepers 1 and 2 with the slipcovers. Truly gorgeous looking. I think that the Creeper is really an underrated, horror movie villain. I was gonna say slasher villain, but he's more of a creature, and more of like a. That's what I really like about these films, is that they're really unique. The monster, which somebody, they put the reversible cover there. Um, you know, this particular monster really doesn't have a whole lot in common with others that you may have seen in other movies, and I really like that. I think that it's neat to see new original creatures. This is a creature that only comes out every forget how many years to feast, and it looks different than any other horror movie monster. It has wings. It's just got a lot of neat stuff going on there. But yeah, that's the original poster there, and then here's our discs there. But yeah, I love this. I actually like the second one more than the first one. And I do have the third one with the slipcover, but I haven't finished it yet. I do want to finish it though, because I think that for sure these first two are really, really good. I think they're vastly underrated. I guess they're not necessarily everybody's cup of tea, but I think if you want like some unique horror, then these are good ones to check out. All right, and then we got one more. It's a big box. Well, not that big. From Sweetgrass, Montana. Oh yeah, and this is that the first seller that I mentioned in my eBay seller video. The one from Sweetgrass, Montana. That was the one who was able to get me all of those different Canadian releases for cheaper than I've normally seen them go for. So definitely, I ordered some more stuff from this person, and I also got my shipping refunded to me, and that was really nice of him. So again, check back on that video and give him some love there. All right. Now I believe that there should be 4 of these. Yep. All right. And so there's 4 of them, and there's Her, which I remembered seeing in the theater. Again, you can see it's the Canadian version because it's got the French on there. I remembered seeing this movie in the theater. These aren't all going to be horror either, just because I'm trying to rebuild the collection of like other non-horror films that I had prior to the Great Purging. But yeah, I remembered seeing Her in the theater, and it was probably not the best time for me to see it, to be honest, because it was right after a breakup. It was with my first girlfriend, not my most recent one. But it was my first girlfriend. I saw this film in the theater, and I was still kind of dealing with the aftermath of everything, and it probably wasn't the best movie to see at that time. I've been wanting to watch this again. It's been so long, I've kind of avoided it because of how it hit a little too close to home at that time. But now I think I've probably got enough distance between me and it to be able to appreciate it again fully. Not that I didn't before, but it's just, how that is sometimes. You need a little distance from something that hits you a little too much at a vulnerable time. Now this one, I guess you could say horror or thriller, whichever, but it's Deliverance. Now again, this one here, I got the standard edition and not the digibook because that same company, I'm gonna get the custom cover for it, and it looks a million times cooler than the standard one or the digibook even. But they look just a lot better. The person that's gonna send that to me, which again, there's the 2 titles there. The person that's sending that to me, the custom cover, is actually gonna throw in a free replacement for Joker because he watched the video and noticed that I pointed out that it said PG-13 when it should be R, and so he's shipping a replacement to me, which was nice. Because the Joker is definitely not a PG-13 movie. Gangster Squad, directed by, was that Ruben? Yeah, Ruben Fleischer. That's who I thought. Who did Zombieland and did Venom. And I liked Venom and I liked this. I think this was pretty underrated. Like the cast, I think they did well. I just, again, I like period films. I like old school gangster films. I think, Emma Stone made a pretty good femme fatale there. And I always turn these the wrong way whenever I try to show the sides. But again, this was the slipcover there. But yeah, I remembered a lot of these things that are coming from this particular seller. They were ones that I was able to find for cheap at, like Manifest Discs or Second and Charles, FYE, places like that. I was able to find them there for cheap, and then, they ended up leaving the collection, and so now I'm trying to get them back. They were ones that, they weren't really worth a whole lot, despite them being good movies. And then finally, we got Nocturnal Animals with Amy Adams and Jake Gyllenhaal, which I'm a big Amy Adams fan. I think she's one of the best actresses working today. I've really always loved the work that she did, and this was another one that I got. You'll notice I do a lot of kind of blind buys of things that I think I'm probably gonna like, because of the fact that it's inexpensive, and it's just cool to have stuff on the shelf that is new and different, and it's different than what most people will have. But yeah, I think, well, both of them are really, really good, and I think that they'll probably be good together. But yeah, I think Amy Adams has really proven herself time and time again. I wish she'd win an Oscar already. She's due for one. But yeah, that's that for today. So like, share, subscribe, Warp Factor 5, hit the bell, set phasers to stun, and make sure that you don't leave the children in the oven for too long if you're a witch. Hansel and Gretel. But anyway, yeah, so just keep safe out there, and see you in the next video.